When Jesus had finished instructing the 12, he set out once more across the dusty roads of Galilee, walking from town to town, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom. The air carried whispers of miracles, and hearts stirred wherever he went. The light of heaven was moving among men. Far from these crowds, behind cold stone walls, John the Baptist sat in Herod's prison. The prophet who once thundered beside the Jordan now waited in silence and shadow. Each day passed with the weight of uncertainty. Had his mission reached its end? Yet his heart still reached toward the one he had proclaimed. News of Jesus' mighty works reached him through narrow slits of light. And so John, faithful even in doubt, sent 2 of his disciples with a message. Are you the one who is to come, or shall we look for another? They found Jesus surrounded by the poor, the sick, and the desperate. The blind were seeing again, the lame walked freely, the outcast lepers were cleansed, the deaf heard joy for the first time, the dead rose, and the poor, the forgotten, heard the words of life. Jesus turned to John's messengers and said gently, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have good news preached to them. And blessed is the one who does not fall away because of me." The disciples departed, and as they faded into the crowd, Jesus turned his gaze upon the people. "What did you go out into the wilderness to see?" he asked. "A reed swayed by the wind? A man dressed in soft clothing? No. Those who wear fine garments live in kings' houses. Then what did you go to see? A prophet? Yes, and more than a prophet. For it is written, 'Behold, I send my messenger before your face, who will prepare your way before you.' Truly I tell you, among those born of woman, there has not risen anyone greater than John the Baptist. Yet the one who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he." The crowd murmured, astonished, for in John the final voice of the prophets had cried, and in Jesus the promise had come. He spoke of the kingdom, how from John's days until now it had suffered violence, how men pressed their way toward it with desperate longing. The law and the prophets had looked forward to this moment, and if they could see it, John was the Elijah who was to come. He who has ears to hear, Jesus said, let him hear. Then his voice softened with grief. To what shall I compare this generation? It is like children in the marketplace calling to one another. We played the flute for you, and you did not dance. We sang a dirge, and you did not mourn. John came neither eating nor drinking, and they said, he has a demon. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they said, look at him, a glutton, a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom, he said, is proved right by her deeds. The people listened, some convicted, others unmoved, and the sorrow of heaven rested upon the towns that had seen his miracles, yet refused to turn. Then Jesus lifted his eyes toward the cities that had hardened their hearts. Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I tell you, it will be more bearable on the day of judgment for Tyre and Sidon than you. And you, Capernaum, exalted to heaven, you will be brought down to Hades. For if the mighty works done in you had been done in Sodom, it would have remained to this day. But I tell you, it will be more tolerable for Sodom on the day of judgment than for you. A silence fell. The breeze carried dust through the streets, and faces lowered in awe and fear. Even judgment in his mouth sounded like a cry of love unmet. Then, lifting his eyes to heaven, Jesus prayed aloud, I thank you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that you have hidden these things from the wise and learned and revealed them to little children. Yes, Father, for this was your good pleasure. His words seemed to draw heaven close. All things have been handed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Then he turned to the weary, the bent, the burdened, the brokenhearted, and his voice became a wellspring of peace. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. The crowd stood silent. Some wept, others closed their eyes in quiet wonder. The weary world had just heard the invitation of its Creator, and heaven itself seemed to rest upon those words.